Well, Carter, welcome to Shirley Allen for 2013 Christmas. I'm excited for you to see your work and some of the other things that...
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here, particularly after we put all that collection together 2 weeks ago in the hunt. Now I get to come in and see what it looks like in this pretty amazing, my favorite gallery in the whole country.
Well, thank you. Welcome. Come on in.
And here we have the scales.
Yeah, the mermaid.
That's pretty amazing. And I love this fish over here.
Yeah, isn't this incredible?
That's really amazing how the scales are carved in. And
yeah, these are puppets that they would use for their celebrations. And then here's a mermaid.
Wow. Oh, she's welcoming me to the Shirley Allen Gallery boutique. Well, you can obviously see the Japanese influence. And I spent a lot of time in Japan, and it really has the feeling of the Japanese prints, but very much with a sort of South Sea Island flavor. So combining the two is really quite extraordinary. And the colors are gorgeous.
Just amazing. When he started the record, or what they usually used to make a single print, was 5 blocks.
Yeah.
And they'd lay the blocks one at a time. He used as many as 350 blocks to make a single image.
Yeah, it's interesting because some of the old Japanese prints, the original, you'd see in the corners they'd have little pinholes.
The little registration.
Yeah, and they would line up the faces by the pinholes. So it's quite interesting. So when you see something like that, you can tell, you know, what's a new piece and what's an old piece. But
come on, take a look upstairs. We've got some interesting things up here.
Wow. Well, you know, loving cats, here we go. We have a whole collection of really beautiful cats. All the different things. I love sort of almost the primitive nature of these drawings. It seems like they're all sand.
These were early Warhols from 1954.
Well,
and he and his mom moved to New York and lived in a little apartment close to where Serendipity has been for many years.
Oh yeah, that's right where I was a couple of weeks ago in New York. So it's been right next door.
So when they moved there were 25 cats that they fed the building.
Actually, the building that I have, Deja Vu, where I have my show, is
that building?
That was Andy Warhol's, where he lived in his studio.
So how about that for coincidence? Here we are now looking at the cats that he drew from that period.
Probably from that apartment.
From that apartment?
Yeah.
So he named them all Sam, just so you could remember their name.
Well, that's when you have that many cats, you kind of have to do that. So, wow.
And here's some of your work. Can you get a picture of this?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Well, here we have a K-dress, which is one plain fabric that's sewed into by a skirt, so probably 5.5, 6 yards of silk in that. And on top of that, we have a Mary T-top. My Mary T-tops were, I made them originally for Mary Travers of Peter, Paul, and Mary. And she used to wear them at home for comfort and sometimes in her concerts. And then that's topped by a little short vest. And the short vest, I love how the vest sort of contrasts and fits. And that really is due a lot to Shirley Allen's genius.
And Gerson, this is a rug that Carter had commissioned done. And what did it take? Almost 3 years to do something like that?
So there's approximately almost 3 years of labor in that. What I did was I took a piece of silk dyed over.
That's folded over twice, so that's 4 times the size.
Yeah, it's a 5x8 carpet.
5x8 carpet.
And there are about 2.5 million individually hand-tied knots in that.
Can you imagine? 2.5 million knots.
Every color is hand-dyed. So they had to yarn. They had to figure out how much they needed of the purple and the mauve and the green. And it's really quite an extraordinary piece. I think the last one of these carpets sold in the neighborhood of about $100,000. But it represents over 2 years of labor. And just the pattern for this, and this is done on a piece of graph paper that's minuscule, the pattern on this took 3 months to make.
Bizarre. So let's go on up. Yeah.
Wow. You know, the one thing that I love about the Shirley Allen Gallery is to me it has a very spiritual context. So I think that the what we look at and what we see here is unique to any gallery or store or boutique I've ever been in. And I guess that's really due to Shirley Allen. I call her really genius in terms of how she can put things together. Not only clothes together, but crafts and art together. So what we have here is an individual experience that really takes a very sophisticated taste to fully appreciate it. So here's this outfit here. What we're looking at, these are my cut satin patterns. So I get the silk. This is silk and rayon. The pile is rayon, and underneath is silk. And this is done by chemically removing the rayon from the silk. The silk remains. But this is a piece. Piece is a velvet, cut velvet, and a cut satin underneath it. And what I love that Shirley's done is how she's contrasted the two materials and made them work together. And I have to say, I make the things, but I don't really have that concept of how you take art and present it as art, which I have to say Shirley is brilliant at. And of all the places I've been and all the times where I've had my work, there's something that goes on here that goes on no other place.
I heard you just started. How long have you been in business?
Yeah, I just started in 1965. And actually, I started dyeing in 1965, and then in 1969 I started my business. And that's when I went to graduate school and decided to earn my way through graduate school by tie-dyeing. And when I was through with graduate school, there were no jobs available teaching sculpture, which I got my MFA in, and I was already a professional textile dyer. So in the beginning I made wall hangings, and then about 20 years later I started making clothes. So to me, one of the things about clothes like this is there's an energy in them, and when women put the clothes on, that energy transcends or transcribes over to the woman, so that it's very much like having a second skin. And so the energy of the clothes become the energy of the woman, and each woman interacts differently with the piece, with the art. And so to me, I love women, and I love how their energy is enhanced by putting the right piece on the right woman, and nothing really can match that. One of the things that's happened, I think, in the world today is that women tend to be more casual, and what they do is they miss a lot of what the essence of the female energy, particularly when it's enhanced in such a form.
Cool. Well, let's look over this way. Well, let's go over your things first. Here's your collection that we put together recently.
Yeah, wow, and it's amazing to me to see, we do all these pieces, and Shirley said, here, make this out of this and this out of this. So I get kind of directed around, and the real proof is like what they say, the proof is in the pudding. It ends up what it tastes like or what it looks like or how it comes together when everything's put together, like this piece here, a piece of jewelry over it.
That's the work of Emily Mead, and we saw a lot of her necklaces with your work.
Well, they're quite spectacular, and they really have a translucence to them that really fits the silk. Silk has an ability to capture light and reflect it, and so does crystals and glass and beads like this. So it's pretty amazing. Now, if we move over to here, we have ourselves another little top. This is a little kimono, and I love how Shirley has taken the colors and she's presented something in front of it to really give it an art, in quotes, presentation. And here's something we have here that, again, is, let's see, I have to look and see what Shirley has done with it. This is, it's a scarf coat, and she's presented it in a way that I really haven't presented it before, but I love how she's sort of tied the end so that it pulls in and drapes. It gives a draping, but a different draping look in the back, and then how this sort of fits in the front. But you can look at the colors, and the detail on this dyeing is very intricate, very tight, but really quite beautiful. And this here again, we have Shirley has put a Mary T top out of a double georgette, which is a heavier chiffon, and then she's coordinated it with a cut satin skirt. And to me, the sort of the kind of top thing that I do is it's a K dress, it's a K skirt, it's a K pants, and it's a K top. They're all biased. They all kind of conform to a woman's shape, but they actually complement it. So I would say that the K dress is going to make a woman look, her figure look younger, more attractive. But the energy as she wears it, she picks up that energy and she becomes younger looking well,
The energy comes alive.
the energy definitely comes alive.
The two paintings on the wall there are interesting. Carter has a friend that we visit every time we visit him, and she's in what town?
She's in Marblehead. This is Mary Jo McConnell, and she does feather painting. She does a lot of things with bowerbirds, with bowers from New Guinea, and she really is one of my favorite artists. She has quite an extensive connection with her art. You see it all over her house. Her house is it's like a museum,
and it's full of just the most incredible artifacts
from all over the world.
She traveled for many years.
A lot of things from Indonesia, and really spectacular pieces.
And let's see, what do you got, Kathy? Oh, here's some more.
Here's some more. This is
look at this one. Oh my gosh. Show us that one.
Now here's a piece. So this is a piece that I kind of went back and I did what was in the old days sort of the tie-dye, where you take areas and you tie them together, but then I dyed them in a more sophisticated manner. And I came up with this. And this is something that's a lot more complicated and complex than the really tight patterns you see. But a piece like this, you put all these ties together, and then what you do is you dye through them. This has 2 or 3 different dye techniques combining to make the piece look like this. It's very organic, and it looks, a lot of people who are into biology say it looks like little microbes under us, under a magnifying glass or under a
microscope.
Microscope, right?
I wondered where you were going with that.
Yeah, well. So, and again, here's something too. If we look at this, we want to look, if you want to back up a little bit, I want to show you something. This is kind of why this dress is so flattering, the K dress, is you can see it's one plane of fabric. So that's a piece of fabric that has a cross cut in it, and then you integrate the top into the skirt. And it has these little triangles on the bottom or on the side here, which actually give you a shape like this, and to me that's the shape of a woman. So you need to bring this up to the right place to get the best complement out of it. So,
and that's why you do all your work on the bias, right?
That's why I do all my work on the bias, and I consider this of maybe the 400 or 500 bias designs that I've done. This is still by far the best design.
Tell us what bias is.
Well, bias, if we look at fabric and we see fabric as a square, and we make clothes oriented up and down, that's normal. But when we take the fabric and we shift it 45 degrees, we're looking at triangles. But the thing about when you pull on the ends of the triangle, they shift out. They go like that. This is pulling bias. Now if I pull straight on the seam, it only pulls like this. If I pull bias, it pulls like this.
So it's very flattering to everyone.
It's incredibly flattering, because what it does is it conforms to the figure of the woman who's wearing it. So if a woman is bustier, the top is going to pull up, and that's going to bring her waist up. So for women who are, say, over 40, they want a higher waist. They want the waist to flow from the top and then come down and have this very natural curve. And oftentimes there'll be these little air pockets in here that you don't see, but they're very flattering. Particularly for, I mean, I've seen women who who are in their 70s put this dress on and their figures look amazing.
So you didn't see a lot of the artifacts from last. These are all new to you, right?
Oh my God, it's amazing what's in here now this year. Because just looking around, like this snake over here.
Yeah, Brian Gayford traveled to Africa for probably 40 years. These were things that he collected and brought back. And Brian's a great guy. He's trying to save the male lions because they're endangered. So he's selling off a lot of his artifacts.
But these are actually pieces that should be in museums.
They're museum quality.
Yes, they are. And
this is the chair over here to our right. This is the ironwood chair that came from Zimbabwe. He collected that, I think, in the late 50s. This is we'll try and move it.
Well, no, that's okay. I'll get a hernia just from trying to tip one end of it. It's like, pretty solid.
Yeah.
But I love the pattern of the carving, because if you look at this pattern here,
it's like one of your pieces of work.
Contrast it up to here. It's very much like the lines in my work. So it's kind of a neat piece to see in a context like that.
And then the snake, who are they from? What was the tribe? The Bobo tribe. They were people that, like the chairs downstairs and the fish, they were people that made their living from the water.
Well, here's something that's really quite spectacular, this cat.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it's like, for people who love cats, the energy of this cat's quite wonderful. You can actually feel it. And yet, it's something that is, again, this is a piece I would expect to see in a museum.
Yeah.
And in a really amazing collection. And I've seen a lot of African art, and they're all kind of different levels, but sometimes you see these pieces that just shine, and this is one of those pieces.
Yeah, there's a few more pieces over here. This chair. I don't think you saw this last year.
Oh, wow. Look how the energy radiates out from the core of the tree.
Can you get a picture of this? You see the pattern, it's like the universe is being formed.
It really is quite amazing. It's like the Big Bang on the chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, here's something. On this wall over here, we have a piece between the two windows. And that's a piece of silk that I've stretched. And it's, the pattern is taken from kale. And I had a piece of kale that I had bought some kale to cook. And when I got around to cooking, it turned all these really strange colors. And so what I did is I took a photograph of it before I threw it away. And I've done over 200 prints from one photograph of kale. And to me, one of the things I like about kale is...
Slide over a little so you can see it with your kale.
One of the things I like about it... Okay, anyway.
There you go.
I was very graceful in that.
See if you can get it.
One of the nice things about the kale is, to me, it shows the energy of the kale. The kale has all these arteries and all these capillaries. It's very much, you feel like very much like a reflection of the human body with the way the energy moves through us. You can see how the energy moves through these lines. So it's, to me, the kale pieces are pretty amazing.